Hello crafters, I'm Jan B and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today I'm going to show you how I made this gift card holder. It has a little belly band that slides off and opens up, and it has the gift card in there, and it has a little bit down here where you can write your greeting. I've decorated up here as well, so all inside it's there is something in there. If I turn it sideways you can see it all in one go. Okay, and then the belly band, because there's a thickness here, can you see that? Yep. I've had to make this wide enough to take that, but not too wide so that it will slide straight off. So when it gets down to the centre, it's a little bit loose, but that's so that you're not struggling to get it over that bit. It's not so loose that it's going to fall off, because you've got another thick bit down the bottom there. Okay, I'm not going to change my colour scheme. I do have another one that I'm going to show you towards the end, and that was a Christmas one that I did. So I'm going to start off by telling you the card pieces that you're going to need. If I turn that over that way, I should be round the right way. Okay, so first of all, you need a piece of fresh Fig Cardstock, and that should measure 3¼ inches by 12 inches, which is 8.2 by 30.5 centimetres. And then you need some designer series paper, and I've used frosted Floral, which is the same set as this. I've just chosen a different design, and I'm sure you can see that there's like a sheen on there. It's really gorgeous paper. So on this you need 2 pieces that measure 4 5/8 inches by 3 1/8 inches, which is 7.9 by 11.8 centimetres. And then you need 4 pieces that measure 3 1/8 inches by 3 3/8 inches, which is 7.9 by 8.5 centimetres. And I have deliberately chosen a design that is directional, so that I can explain what you do with the flaps when you get there, so that you don't finish up with bits that are upside down. You would also need a piece of fresh fig that measures 1¼ inches by 7¼ inches, which is 3.2 by 18.4 centimetres. And then you need a piece of Whisper White and a piece of fresh fig, both which measure 2 inches by 2 3/4 inches, which is 5 by 7 centimetres. And the reason I've nipped that little corner off there is so that I don't get it mixed up with this piece. The sizes are similar, and if I'm busy talking to you and I'm working, I'm very likely to pick up the wrong one. But this piece measures 2 1/4 inches by 3 inches, which is 5.7 by 7.6, and that piece is for the actual pocket for the gift card to go in. That one's for the sentiment. And then you need a piece of fresh fig, approximately 2 inches by 2 inches. That's to cut out a layer for one of the square, for the square rather. And then you need some scraps of Whisper White for the leaves, the flower, the circle, the white square, the flower, and that's where the 2 by 2 piece of fresh fig comes in as well, the backing for that square. Okay, so they're all the card pieces that you'll be needing. Before I go any further, I want to show you the best way of cutting this so that you get the best out of your designer series paper. So if you can imagine that this scrap of paper is a sheet of 12 by 12, what you need to do with your trimmer, I found this out by accident after the first one I did, and I wasted so much paper. So imagine this is 12 by 12, you're going to put it in and you're going to line it up at 3 1/8 inches, which is the width of all of these. Okay, so what you're going to do, you're going to cut 1 and then 3 1/8 again. Okay, so that will be approximately, well, just under 6 inches wide, so that's a good piece to be left over with. Now here, you can either do 1 at a time or 2 at a time. Now this one, if you put this at 4 5/8, let me just double check that I'm saying the right measurements. Yep, 4 5/8, cut those. Okay, so you got your 2. Move this to 3 3/8. I would just double check that. Yep. Slice that. Then move that to 3 3/8, bearing in mind that this was not a 12 by 12 sheet. Okay. Now if this was 12 by 12, you'd have about 5/8 of an inch left over there. You'd have 2 of them, but you will have cut all of these. What happened with me for the first one, I had the 3 1/8 inch strip and I cut down 3 lots. And it was such a waste of paper doing it that way. So that's that tip for you. I don't think I actually need my trimmer apart from the demonstration for you. So I think, what will we do first? I think we'll do scoring first. So we need these 2 pieces, and you can either use your trimmer or your scoreboard. For something like this, I do prefer my scoreboard. And my scoring tool is there somewhere. I have tried to get into the habit of not tidying up after I've made my project, but before I start a video, because quite often you probably notice that I've put things away that I need. Right, now with your 12-inch piece, or 30.5 centimetre piece, I will give you the inches on score marks first, and then I will go back and give you the centimetres. So with inches, you're going to score at 3 1/2 inches and 3 5/8 inches, and then 8 3/8 inches and 8 1/2 inches. So you've just got 1/8 of an inch gap in between those 2 lines. In centimetres, that is 8.9 centimetres, 9.2 centimetres, 21.3 centimetres, 21.6 centimetres. Now with the smaller piece, you need to score this, again inches first, you need this at 2 inches, 2 1/8 inches, 5 3/8 inches and 5 1/2 inches. And in centimetres, that's 5.1 centimetres, 5.4 centimetres, 13.7 and 14 centimetres. So that's all we need to do with the scoring. So let's make this first, and what we need to do is to fold on all 4 score lines and give it a good burnish. It is a little bit difficult folding when you've got 2 score lines so close to each other, but it just takes a little bit of patience, that's all. Now when you fold this in half, do make sure that your sides are lining up before you actually burnish your score lines, your folds. Okay, and then the next one, I tend to put my finger underneath there and then push that down, and more often than not that will work. Sometimes it will give me a hard time. There we go. No, maybe not. Yes, there we go. Okay, now before I burnish that, I'll make sure it's nice and straight. There we go. Okay, so I've got my tiny little 1/8 of an inch fold there. Okay, I'm going to do the same to the other end as well. So first one is easy. And then the second one is a bit of a challenge. Oh, that went quite easy that time. So make sure they're nice and straight. There we go. So while we're struggling with that, we might as well do this one. But with this one, you don't need to burnish it. So just fold them both and squeeze with your fingernails, and that your fingers rather, and that will be fine. Just make sure that you're making sure these are all nice and straight, that's all. Okay, so that's one. Make sure it's straight. Give it a squeeze. And the second one. I don't believe how easily these are folding. Been giving me grief all day. So there we go. So that's that. Now I am going to round the corners of the tops and the bottom. So I'm using my trio punch. And when you use your trio punch, it's best if you press down in the centre rather than trying to go over to the edge. So there we go, that's done nice and easily. And then we're going to need these. Now I have kept mine in the same way that I cut them. So that was the top strip, and that was the bottom strip. That was top strip, bottom strip, top strip, bottom strip. Okay, so I'd be able to stick all those back together again if I wanted to for some peculiar reason. And the reason I do that is because I know that the width of all of these are absolutely identical. It might be a tad out in comparison to that, but because all of these three are going to be going on the same side, and those three on the side, I know they're going to line up. So first of all, I'm going to move that one out of the way, and I'm going to do I'm going to do the inside first of all. So my design, which has got to go up the right way, is going to be like that. So, like that. So I need to round those two corners. I need to round those two corners and those two corners. Okay. Be there. Now I want the bottom piece here. That didn't go too well, but it doesn't seem to like this thinner paper. Either that or I'm not doing it very well. I'll trim that with my paper snips. That one went alright. Let me cut that before I forget. There we go. So that's like that, so they're all the right way. I'm going to adhere these on with Tombow. I think this is a nice design as well, this side. In fact, I don't think there are any designs in this set that I don't like. There we go. You can use snail for this if you want. It'll be perfectly okay. And of course tear and tape, that would be fine. This kind of design, the flowery bits, reminds me of the kind of patterns we used to have on our nighties when we were children. They were always delicate little flowers. There we go. Now, turn over, and first of all I'm going to do that one because that has got to be the same way as that. There we go, that's that one. Now these two, if I remember correctly, should go upside down. So that when it closes and it comes over, yeah, that's right, so that, okay, assuming that I've just confused you like I've confused myself. Okay, so I'm saying that these two need to go upside down, like that. That's right, that's wrong, that's wrong. So that when you close it, like that, and you open it up, they're all round the right way. Okay, and that's up the right way as well. Okay, so when you're doing the back, you got one the same way as that one, but you do these two upside down. Yep, that's right. Now I've got to round the corners of these two and these two. So let's do those. That didn't sound too good. It was alright, it worked. And then this one, I want the top. I have to say, it's much easier if you decide to do a non-directional pattern. But obviously I had to do one like this so that I could show you. If you've got a pattern that you really want to use, is directional, what you just need to watch out for. There we go. So let's pop these on now. Let's turn it up the right way for me. Did I say that this design series paper is called Frosted Florals? And I'm also going to be using the stamp set in that suite and also the dies in that suite as well. There we go. So that's the actual case ready. So now we need to, nothing to do with that yet. We need to die cut those two and that one. Oh, this has got to be dry embossed. I'll show you that bit just in case you didn't notice, but that's been dry embossed with the tufted, which I think gives it like quite an expensive look. So if I do the stamping next, I think, and then we'll be ready for the big shot. So that means using this, and I want one. In fact, I'm only going to do one of each because I've prepared over there. But what you would need to do, if you want the design exactly the same as me, you want 2 large flowers and 2 of the sprigs, because I always cut mine in half. Okay, so if I do 1 flower and 1 sprig, then I think we're good to go. I've set myself a challenge because I have used this stamp so many times, but I've always cut it in half. So I'm challenging myself to make a card where I don't cut it. Okay, so that's that bit. And the flower. The green is Pepperzaz and the flower is Fresh Fig, and I've smudged there. Let's put this here. Okay, so imagine I've done 2 of each of those. So I don't need anything there. I'm going to bring my big shot up now. Without crushing that. Right, so I'm going to do my dry embossing first. So I've moved those plates out of the way. This is the tufted embossing folder, and it's one of our dynamics. So you do need to spray your piece of cardstock with water, because you get a better impression if your cardstock has been moistened, because of how deep this embossing is. I know not everybody uses it, and depending on your machine you may get away with not spraying your cardstock, but I do know that mine are better if they're sprayed. Obviously I can't spray this so that you can see it, but I will show you that it's wet. Whoops, too wet, never mind. Just a minute. Okay, see how I've overdone that somewhat? Oh yes, you can. So that's part of an experiment, if you like, and find out if it's possible to over wet your cardstock. I'm just going to line these up, and what I've been doing is I've been lining up. I've chosen 3 dots and just positioned those central along there, and it means that you can just come to the edge of that dot and that dot as well. It's just so that I can make sure that my cardstock is straight. This is one of those designs which it will notice if you do it crooked. Right, so I've got a Big Shot platform, my dynamic embossing folder, and 1 cutting mat. Okay, that's all you need for your sandwich. And when you do it, make sure you put the fold of your folder in the machine first. There we go. You see that? Yeah, that's good. In fact, that hasn't come up too bad, considering I soaked it really a lot. Can you see how wet that is on the back there? So, lucky. So let's move those out of the way. And then the next I need to do is I'll use my magnetic platform. And sorry, the stamp set I used is First Frost, so it's that one there that I've used, and that long one, which is the one I always cut in half. And the dies that go with this set are called Floral bouquet, and I'm going to use that one and that one, and I'm also going to be using these two. That's what I use for the so that you can write your message on, and that's what the die is cut like. So that I think is without a die, without a stamp rather. Let me just double check that. That's got a stamp, that's stamp, stamp, that one not, and that one not either. So they are just standalone dies. Right, and also you can cut that if you wanted to as well. Okay, you can cut that, that, or that, or and that rather, but not necessarily all at the same time. Right, so I also need on my stitched shapes framelits, I need the square number 2 and I need the circle number 2. Now this one I can actually use, either use or avoid. In fact, I'm going to avoid that piece. That's lucky, isn't it? So that can go on there as well. And this can die cut that one. Okay, but you have to imagine that I got 2 of these leaves and 2 of the flowers. There we go. I'm going to have to tip this up so that I can see if I'm anywhere near close. Oh, crikey, look at that. Quite a long way away. Oh, it's jumping a bit. Let's move my cardstock. That's better. That's okay, that's okay, that's okay. That was white, wasn't it? Okay, come back to that one. Where's my other cutting mat? Here. Right, okay, so that's the circle that we need. Put that there. That's the green leaves. The flower. And the square. Now I need another piece of white so that I can cut that piece. And I also need this. In fact, no, because I got this, didn't I? I told you the pieces that you needed for this. Okay, so that's for the white one. That's for the fresh fig. What else did I need? From the layering squares, I need number 5 of the scallop squares, which is that one, and that I need from here. And I think that should be all the pieces I need. Okay, so that's for the sentiment. That's for the sentiment. And this is to go behind the square. So I think that's everything. Right, so I'm going to build this one first. So that's the circle, the flower, and one of these. So I will show you how I cut it. It's about halfway down where, in fact it's just underneath where that 3-leaf bit is coming out of the side there. I'm going to take that as a top and that as a top. Very nice and easy to cut these. So you've got 2 sprigs. There we go. You don't really need to trim up these end bits because it's going to be covered up anyway. So I've got those 2. I have that. There's another one that I made earlier. So that's for those. Okay, so what did I do? For these, let's have my silicone mat and Tombow. So all I did was I put some glue on the bottom part of them, because they came over the edge of the circle. I'm going to try and copy this the same way that I've had it on here, otherwise I could be here forever agonising about the right positioning of everything. Right, so the first one comes off up here somewhere. The next one is off out here, and then this one almost right the way out. Just want to have different gaps between these 2, that's all. Now this one I'm going to pop on with dimensionals, and I'm going to use the mini dimensionals for this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the dimensionals on the circle. Just make sure that they're okay. That's going to be fine. And then I'm going to put 2 at the bottom here. Then once I've got the flowers on there, it doesn't really matter which way I put the circle on. I can have my flower at an angle. Right. So just make sure that they're all covered up. Then that's good to go. And then what I did was, because there's a sheen on here, I coloured this with my Wink of Stella. So when you do something like this, I really recommend that you do the green first, because pinks and reds quite often run. The Wink of Stella lifts the colour, and it certainly does with fresh fig. So rather than run the risk of getting any of the pink onto my leaves, I'll do the leaves first. Right, now when I do the flower, what I do, there's hardly any colour there at all. I use my brush in a circular movement. Can you see how the pink is spreading? You see those little white bits there? So I just keep going in a circle so that there are no like straight lines, streaky lines. I don't mind the pink running. we go. Okay, so see, even though that has made that run, there's nothing coming off of here. Right, so there's that one done. This one, let me show you. Okay, so I've just done the flower on that on its own and just adhered these two together. So let's use Tombow for this. The reason I'm doing this first rather than the pocket is to give the pocket a chance to dry. One of the nice things about these two sets of dies is you just get the tiniest of edges showing through, and I love that. When you've got white going onto white, it's nice to have that little bit that just separates. So that's that bit. We can do that bit, that bit. We can put these two pieces together. Oh, put the flower on here as well, can't we? And then I think it's just a question of putting everything together. There we go. So that's ready to be done. That can come back in a minute because I'm going to put some tape on the back of it to adhere it down. On this flower I am using Tombow because it's going inside. I'm not going to use dimensionals on it. There we go. Now I'm going to colour this again, or paint it with my Wink of Stella. Okay, let me bring it up to you in case you can't actually see it that far down, how pink that is going. Okay, I'll finish painting it and I'll show it to you again. Special news for anybody who follows my blog, my daily blog. I'm having a new website being launched this week, and I am going over from Blogger to WordPress, and it does mean that if you have subscribed, you will need to resubscribe, because apparently the subscriptions can't be carried over. So there will be plenty of notices on the blog that that's what you need to do. In fact, everywhere I go, whatever I'm doing, I'm going to make sure I tell everybody. But the new blog is going to be beautiful, really lovely. There we go, that's the other flower, so that's ready to go inside. That's ready. Right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to use tear and tape, and that's the one I want for the top where I've got the like little stud things. Oh, and I want to round the corners on these, the bottom too. Here we go. It doesn't matter if your tape doesn't go from top to bottom and from side to side at the bottom, as long as it's as close to the top as you can get. Mine's a little bit short, but I'm not going to worry about a little gap like that. But don't worry if you're not getting tape round the corner there, because it's to hold the gift card in there, and it's going to need a really big hole for it to slide through, not just a little one like this. In fact, talking again, I didn't leave enough on there either, but that'll be right. Okay, what I'm saying is that kind of gap's not going to cause any kind of problem. Right, so let's start putting this together, making sure I've got it up the right way. So first of all, I'm going to do the pocket. Now the measurement of this is so that it will fit in nicely in this corner, and it'll be, hopefully, easy to get it in there straight. In fact, let's use my tweezers. They're normally my best friend with something like this. So I'm just trying to make sure that the gap down this side is the same that side, and straight. Let me just lift that up. Yeah, I think that looks straight. Okay. Let's take the gift card out, that one. Okay, so that's in there. And then I need this one. I'm going to pop that straight there. Again, I'm not using dimensionals because it's on the inside. Oops. That was not clever. Right, excuse me. I didn't bring any kitchen roll over with me, but I can always get over to tissues. There we go. I might need to use my adhesive remover on there. Right, now I'm just going to pop this in the centre and hopefully straight. I think that's all right. Right, so there's that and there's that. Now this one. You could put this way or this way. I didn't want it like that because it was too much following suit. I wanted something that was just a bit different. So I'll just hold this up to get it lined up. I think that's all right. Maybe not. I think that's straight. You think that's straight? Well, it's going to be straight. Right, now we need to do our belly band. And what we are going to do with this is, again, with our tear and tape, right, I want the shorter piece going on the top, so I'm going to put some tear and tape on the inside of that one. And this tape does actually tear. You don't need to use your scissors with it. I do, because so many times when I've torn it, I've also torn the cardstock, and I've tried the trick about using a block to hold it down, but 9 times out of 10 I forget to do that. Right, now before you stick this one down, you need to just get your where your folds are, that little flat bit there, so that it's flat against either side. And what you should find is, don't get stuck down just yet, you should find that you've got a gap there. You see how that's bulging over? And then you need to bring this one forward and line them up so they stick together. Okay. And then that should allow you enough room to move up and down. Okay. And the bulbous bit will be at the back. So to decorate this, what I did was I took a piece of the mini ruffled ribbon, approximately the correct size so that I don't waste any, or waste absolutely minimum amount. I'll put that over there, and this is what I've done. You see, I've also put some pearls on here. Now I don't know whether that's going to work or not. I've never tried it before. I mean, it works now, but how long it's going to hold. Right, I'm going to leave that on there to work because it stays firm. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put snail on the back of this, but not all the way. I'm just going to do, I'm going to take the lid off, do the first bit, and then I'm just going to do 3 or 4 little bits along the length of it. Oops. And also the very last bit. That's it. Right, so where my fold is, I'm going to pop that half, and I am going to use my, in fact I am going to take it off now because I used my grid paper to get myself more or less in the centre, and it just really helped me to keep myself straight. On the second one there, I think that looks right. Oops, maybe I should have put a bit more snail on that bit. So let's go over and see what happens when we come round this side. There we go. I've got some snail on there. Does that look straight? Well, that's on the second line. Oops, don't you start coming off. It needs to go off a bit. That's better. There we go. Now I wonder if the circle will cover all of that up. No, I better cut a little piece off there. It's got glue on it, so I'll use my non-stick scissors. Okay. In fact, I'm going to put a little bit extra on there just to make sure. It doesn't matter because this bit's going to be hidden behind the white circle. There we go. So I can put this any which way I want it to go. I think what I'll do is I'll pop it back. That'll be the easiest way for me to see. There we go. I think I'll do it like that. So what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to put my dimensionals on here, and not that there's any chance that that is going to come unstuck, but I am putting the dimensionals over the join. At least by doing it like this, you know the dimensionals aren't going to get stuck onto the belly band. There we go. So I will use my tweezers, and I will hold my gift card holder up. Let's move it down a bit. I think that's right. Okay, so how did that compare with this one? There we go. No, similar, very similar. So shall I do some pearls? I don't see why they won't stick. If you're thinking that the my pearls look a bit different from the pearls that you've purchased from Stampin' Up, it's because these are what I ordered when they were retiring, because they were revamping the packs. So there we go. I think I've thought of everything, haven't I? I hope you've enjoyed today's project, and yes, I have a Christmas one to show you, and that's this one here. Can't remember what this is. Santa's Workshop, I think. Hold on and I'll be able to tell you. Yes, Santa's Workshop. And you might remember on one of my videos I got really excited. In fact, it was the day this arrived, because there were only 2 sheets that don't have flock on them on one side, and this was one of them. But this Mother Christmas comes from here. But if you've ever seen my videos before where people have closed eyes, like she has closed eyes, I don't like that at all. So I draw the eyes in, and I think that looks much, much nicer. So much more friendly, don't you? There you go. Alright, votes please. Which one do you prefer? With eyes? Without? I'm very confident you can say it with. Anyway, that's the Christmas one. I didn't decorate the bit up here. I struggled a bit when I was covering up all of this and got that one wonky. But otherwise it's all the same. Oh no, I did a bit of fussy cutting on that. I cut one of those out to put in there. So there we go. That's today's project. I hope you like it, and I really hope you give it a try. Suitable for Christmas or birthdays or any events that you want to give somebody a gift card. If you have any questions, please leave them in the box below the video. I'm always happy to help. I will put in the box below the video all the measurements and the products that I've used. And there will be a link to my 24/7 online Stampin' Up shop in the box below. Everything will be down there in the box below. Just look for where it says show more, or there'll be, depends what which device you're watching on. It may be that there's 2 down arrows, and just click on the second down arrow. If you've enjoyed my video and would like to be notified each time I upload a new one, please click on the subscribe button and then the bell to be notified. And if you feel like giving me a thumbs up, I really appreciate that too. And of course, watch out for my new website that's going to be launched sometime this week. I'm posting the video on Wednesday. I'm hoping the blog will be live on, the new blog will be live on Thursday or Friday. I'll be running the two, my old one and my new one, side by side for a couple of days, and I won't let anybody forget that that's what's happening. So hope to see you on the new one. Many thanks for joining me today. Until next time, happy crafting. Cheerio.